Welcome to Therapist Spotlight.
Hello everybody, and welcome to ANTA's Therapist Spotlight, the podcast where we aim to showcase our wonderful ANTA members to the wider community. I'm your host, Joshua Brooks, and with us today is Jackie Richards. Jackie is a holistic counsellor and a Reiki master, so this is going to be a wonderful conversation. Jackie, how are you?
Thank you, Joshua. I'm really pleased to be here.
Wonderful. Well, first question, what got you into natural health?
I've always been interested in sort of eating healthily and exercise from sort of my late teens when I got into healthy eating to lose weight, and then I started doing exercise to sort of maintain that. I did judo and karate actually, so I'm a brown belt in karate. Not many people know that.
That's great. Very interesting, isn't it? A little bit how these journeys can take us to places where not a lot of people would expect.
Yeah. And so it's sort of things sort of evolved from there, from sort of my sort of youth, and then into I sort of had therapies as part of my role when I was working pre this new career, because my background is corporate IT. I spent 20 years in the corporate IT industry, and it's very, very stressful. Part of that, I had a breakdown.
Yep.
And I ended up having support from a lady who did holistic counselling and flower essences. And so that really sort of broadened my understanding of natural therapies that are available for not just your mental and your physical health, but for your emotional and spiritual well-being as well.
Yeah, wonderful. And so is that then, because that lady was able to help you, is that what made you want to do holistic counselling? Was it that experience, or what made you choose holistic counselling?
It's very interesting because I hadn't really thought about what I wanted to do. I knew I needed to get out of the IT industry, but I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
My partner and I moved to Australia 16 years ago now, and we moved the week before my 40th birthday. And I said to myself, I'm not going to go into the IT industry when we come to Australia, because I knew it was just soul destroying, because from in my heart space, I knew I wanted to support others. So we got to Australia and I didn't know what to do. So I went back into the IT industry.
Yeah.
And we'd only been here a few years when I realized that it really wasn't sitting well with me. I could see another coming along if I didn't sort of, like mental and physical health. And I was seeing a counsellor for some other sort of personal issues, and a friend of mine said I was very good at supporting her with giving her conditions. Therefore, went on thinking, why don't I do counselling? Why don't I support her? If that's something that I do sort of naturally. And so I said to her, who I was seeing at the time, she recommended a course. And she simply said, so do your research, and any that jump out at you and really resonate with you sort of intuitively, that's the one to go for. And so I Googled, and she was correct. There's thousands of holistic counselling or counselling courses, but there was the one that really shone to me, and that was holistic counselling and mind-body medicine, which also included flower essence understanding. So that's what I chose. And so I did a 2-year diploma to really broaden my skills.
And you just broke up on the internet a little bit there, Jackie. So was it just, you were saying that your friend introduced you to the holistic counselling, or you sort of, well, yeah, sorry, you just broke up on the internet a little bit there. So like, yeah, what was that sort of first part that you're saying?
My friend said I was a good counsellor.
Yeah.
And then that sort of got me into sort of doing my research.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, so what kind of brand of counselling is holistic counselling? How does it differ from sort of what other people may be expecting or other people may have experienced in their life? How do you bring your journey and what you've learned to the medicine and to people?
Well, I suppose holistic counselling is, a lot of counselling or psychology looks at your mental health and your physical health, but your emotional and your spiritual aspect are equally important. And it's bringing those four together, which I see is the main benefit for my clients, because they look at life from a different perspective. And they also gain the skills to actually sort of acknowledge and understand and be able to work through the different sort of emotional upsets that are going on in their life through bringing in the whole 4 quadrants of who they are into the process.
Yeah, wonderful. And so what does that look like? If I was a client and I came to you, how do we approach this? What's your process? What are you looking at? Is it one sort of one-off sessions, or is it multiple sessions? How do you take me through this journey to discover myself and heal my spiritual, emotional, and physical well-being?
Well, it is definitely a journey. I've learnt through trial and error as I've set up my practice and evolved with it, that the best way to overcome sort of deep-seated limiting belief concepts is to actually sort of commit to a time to work on yourself. And so what I now offer my clients is an 11-week program where they see me for 6 sessions one-on-one, once every fortnight. And in between, they have an activity to work on which will support their mental health, physical health, emotional health, and spiritual health.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
People sign up for a commitment with me because I know that by the end of the 11 weeks, they will have changed. They will have understood and overcome any blocks that they're having, and actually be able to see life with new perspectives and a new openness and clarity, so that they can actually sort of enjoy life for the first time in a long time, probably.
And it's so important what you just said there, that commitment, making that commitment to yourself, to actually give yourself the permission to go on the journey. It's, you know, it's so easy when you're just having one-off sessions that you're just like, oh, and then, okay, I'll book back in 2 weeks, and you may put it off again. But when you've actually made that whole journey commitment, it must increase that accountability and effectiveness, I would imagine.
It is. And with each session, there's some talk therapy, I suppose you'd call it. I tailor a flower essence remedy for my clients to see them through the first few weeks, so that start working subconsciously with what's going on. But also a key part of my sessions is to receive a Reiki healing, because most people don't know how to relax these days. And Reiki will support the client being able to relax in the first instance, but also from that, the innate healing system that's there to begin to work more optimally. And so the tension is released, the anxiety is released, and that can bring about improved healing and openness to see things differently.
So I'm sure that a lot of our natural therapists aren't strangers to Reiki, but for anybody who is out there, can you explain what Reiki is, what it does? So touch therapy, can it be done from distance? How does it sort of work? What's a Reiki session look like?
Reiki is a beautiful healing modality. It's an ancient Japanese therapy, and it works on the idea that we are energy beings, and when our energy becomes unbalanced or blocked, that's when we feel the anxiety, when we feel the anger, the resentment, the grief more heavily. And so receiving it's a gentle hands-on healing technique. It supports that letting go and releasing and rebalancing. So it's a very nurturing hands-on healing technique, which anybody can learn for themselves.
That's wonderful. And so how do you then incorporate that into the healing journey? Does it need to be in person? So do people who sign up for the 6 weeks, do they need to come and see you every fortnight, or can you do the Reiki via distance as they're doing their exercises? How does that work with your practice?
Really, to get the most benefit is to come and see me in person.
Yep.
And now that we're through all the COVID restrictions, that's an opportunity. And also to receive the hands-on healing, to actually feel that gentle touch. It's so nurturing. As a Reiki master teacher, I can offer what's called distance healings, and I did do last year. But that in-person sort of appointment and that sort of real hands-on touch is so powerful. You can't underestimate it. And that's what gets the value and the shifts happening more competently with my clients, and that they're able to then sustain it more readily through the in-person sort of appointments.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that I think is very much underappreciated, the in-person interactions of the exchange of energy. And like you said, the power of touch, it's just so amazing. It does so much for our body, cascades of everything. I would imagine that you would definitely feel that difference, especially doing it to people, would you, rather than the distance to the in-person?
Oh, definitely. And the recipient actually sort of is more aware of what's going on and are more open to spiritual guidance during the session, and actually can relax more deeply into the healing because they feel safe and nurtured, and that it's okay to let go.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing about adding in the Reiki with the counseling is, as they're journaling and as they're doing their little exercises, a whole bunch of stuff would come up. So the Reiki would be really good to, as that's brought to the surface, to clear it and to allow it to go and to be let go, like you were saying. Have you found that?
Yes. A lot of my clients feel a sense of lightness after a healing. And also they get sort of insights. So yeah, they do find that the benefits are quite incredible.
Yeah. And so, not to divulge all of your secrets or all of your tools in the tool chest, can you give us a little smattering of what we can expect? Like, what sort of tools do you use through your sessions?
Well, I have a treasure chest of little things that I can offer my clients depending on what they're going through. And so somebody might be experiencing anxiety, but depending on the root cause of the anxiety, there'll be different activities that I'll sort of, bring out of my little treasure chest. And as you say, it could be something simple as journaling, or one of the things that I find people tend not to do, which is really invaluable, is simply to go outside for 10 minutes a day, to be in nature, or simply to be in the fresh air, to experience what's going on outside, rather than we spend a lot of time inside and on gadgets. And so being outside in nature is so beneficial. I had a client who was in a very responsible role in an aged care centre, and she was holding a lot of old anger as well. And that reflected in her relationships. And she began 2 10-minute walks a day to simply let her mind wander. And after a while, that really seeped into her self-confidence, self-awareness. She became softer, less abrupt, less antagonistic. And over a period of time, along with other activities, those little walks were her savior, because a family no longer walked on eggshells when she got home. The staff were able to talk to her, and she got awarded Employee of the Year. Yeah,
wow. What a transformation.
Yes. And it's that sort of being willing to commit to yourself and do what might seem like a simple exercise. What's the point of doing this? But actually embracing it and being open to the transformations that can occur because of it.
And it's so funny. We're kind of being a little bit forced into this sort of digital playground where we're trying to connect with each other through like the gadgets, and you say, but we're not connecting to ourselves. So having that little bit of space to go out for the walk, or go out and sit in nature, or go out and sit with yourself, we have to connect in here to allow that transformation to occur. Do you think?
Definitely. And it's unfortunate, but most of my clients, when they come to me, they've sort of hit a brick wall and don't know where else to go. And usually, as you say, it's that understanding that you are important and it's okay to look after yourself.
Yeah.
The majority of my clients are mature women. Often they've sort of got lost in their direction of what they're doing with their life. And so I can support them to say that it's okay to look after yourself and actually put yourself first for a change, because you can still look after other people at the same time.
Yeah. Well, it's that old adage, isn't it? You can't pour from an empty cup. So until you fill up your own cup, you can't really give to anybody else.
Definitely.
So, well then, what kind of clients are you really looking for? Like, do you just prefer the sort of middle-aged women, or are you sort of open to everyone, or what do you specialize in? Yeah, what are you really looking for? What clients would you love to connect with and have through your clinic?
I specialize in mature ladies who quite often have hit a brick wall. And my specialty subject is those who are in the corporate IT industry and have come up against that brick wall and aren't sure what to do, because I've been there and I've done that. I understand their pain. So I can certainly support them, but that sort of also allows me to support others with similar but not quite the same issues. So I do actually support men. But it tends to be that the women are the ones who are more self-aware and more open to their emotions and their spiritual side. So I have had a number of gentlemen through my practice as well. They're not excluded. They simply don't tend to sort of be open to the opportunities available through me.
Yeah. And I guess, why do you think that is? Maybe is it a bit of a I don't know, an empathy disconnect? Because I don't think so. Like, what makes you think that could be the case? Is it just that they're not open?
I think a lot of again, I tend to see mature women.
Yeah.
And generally, and I'm mindful that I'm being quite general in this statement.
For sure, yeah.
Men of a similar vintage, shall we say, tend to have had the upbringing where they don't acknowledge their emotions.
Yeah, 100%.
And so whereas as a female, we tend to have more of an openness with respect to emotions. And so maybe there's more of a willingness to go there. And as part of my 11-week program, that it can be confronting, because you will need to look at the emotions that are going through and actually sort of feel them and then be able to release them. And so that's one of the aspects of my program, is that it's very insightful, it's very transformational, and part of that is a bit of stirring up of the emotions and then feeling the lightness once you've done that. Yeah.
And I mean, as a man myself, I find that so upsetting that other men can't necessarily experience that side, because we've all got them and it's something that we're repressing. And just the whole concept of how much damage that would be continuously doing to the male psyche on a basis is just, it's really upsetting to me as a man. So yeah, having more men coming to wonderful people, wonderful practitioners like you to help them explore that side of ourselves that, like you said, especially from men of your vintage where it was repressed, being actually able to go to a safe space and have that part of us held and explored, I think is so important for making us whole and making us the beautiful humans that we are. I would expect that you've seen that through some of the men that have come through your transformational process and actually engage with it fully.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah. So my speciality subject is predominantly mature women in the corporate IT industry. Yeah. But I don't tell others that they're not welcome. My services are very supportive to a lot of people. That's absolutely wonderful. And so you were also saying that you're a Reiki master. So does that mean that you teach people Reiki? And so how does that look? And who are you putting your services out to with that? Other practitioners or just general ordinary people who want to learn Reiki? How does that side of your business and your practice evolve? Well, you've actually covered both angles in what your question, in that anybody can learn Reiki for themselves. And the beauty of it is that once you have the level 1 experience, which is my self-understanding with Reiki level 1 work program, that gives you the insight to how to offer Reiki healings to yourself and your friends and family. And then the level 2, which might be of more of an interest to the other practitioners that Anta have, is the level where you have enough competency and confidence in the skill set that you can then incorporate as part of your practice. So even as a practitioner, level 1 is wonderful because it will support you with being able to look after yourself better, offer yourself a healing, to ease the anxiety, to ease the stresses of managing your own practice. I know, I do it myself. And then from there you can evolve, because my Reiki journey was quite interesting, because I hadn't intended becoming a Reiki master teacher when I first set out. It was all about looking after me and my emotional and spiritual well-being. And then once I'd done my level 1 and then I did my level 2, and then I was thinking about it, I thought, oh, actually, this is really beneficial. So then I thought I'd offer it to my clients as part of the treatments I can use to support them. And then through that, I thought, well, it'd be even better if more people knew how to do Reiki for themselves. And that's got me onto the sort of teaching sort of training course as well. So it can be evolutionary. And I always say to my students, it starts with you looking after you, and then doing that as best you can. And the more self-care tools you have in your toolkit, the better it is for you and those that you're looking after. So Reiki can be done by anybody. It's simply a willingness and an open mind. And I teach Reiki in a similar way to I do one-on-one clients, in that it's a commitment over a period of time. The level 1 is over about 6 weeks. And that means that there's plenty of time for assimilation, understanding, hands-on practice, and then refresh and review. So that by the end of the 6 weeks, there's a competency and a confidence that I think sometimes in a one-off workshop over a weekend, you're inspired, but when you get back into life, you sort of think, oh, I forgot about that. And I can't remember how to do the other, but there's no ongoing support. So I feel that by having that as part of my training programs in learning Reiki, that it's actually more beneficial.
Yeah, wonderful. And again, like you said, it's a skill, and you can't learn a skill over a weekend. It does take time to get used to it, to get, sort of have the training wheels off, then take the training wheels on, then take the training wheels off, and, get used to everything that can come up. And I suppose the other thing is that you have to equip them to deal with something that's unexpected. And you can't get that until you've had like a little bit of experience over time. So having that extra support where you're like, oh, well, I did this and this happened, and you're like, oh yeah, I know that. I've dealt with this before, and you can help them through those those unknowns, or if something unexpected happens. I would well imagine. Yeah.
Certainly the level of confidence and understanding how to make it part of your life as opposed to something I only do when there's a crisis, because it's the regular self-healings or sort of offerings, a family member a healing, that actually is the benefit. And I know from experience that sort of a bit like doing your regular walks in nature, being able to offer yourself a regular Reiki healing keeps things at bay that might otherwise rear their head and sort of bite you on the bum, so to speak. So that you actually have a more capacity to be calm, responsive as opposed to reactive, and actually sort of make better decisions overall in your life.
Yeah, kind of like deal with the boulder when it's a grain of sand rather than when it's a mountain.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it takes so much longer. And so how does that look for people then? Is that still an online class, or do they come and see you every week for the 6 weeks? How does that work?
I've got sort of bite-sized chunks. There's some sort of short sessions, and there's some follow-up sessions, and it works in that most of it's in person now.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then there's a process with respect to learning Reiki where you have an alignment or an attunement to the energy, so that it's pure energy of unconditional love, which is Reiki, and that needs to be done in person. And when you learn the hands-on healing techniques, you sort of need to be there in person as well.
Yeah. And so with the level 2 then, is it a similar process to the level 1, or is that a little bit shorter, or how does level 2 work?
Oh, the level 2 is longer because you really learn the level 1 is sort of like your primary school. Your level 2 is your secondary school. So it's a longer process, but again, it's these bite-sized chunks over a period of about 12 weeks for the level 2, because that's the level where at the end of it, you could become a Reiki practitioner and offer Reiki to your clients, say if you're a natural therapist. So that needs to be more expanded and in depth, and to ensure that the skills and competencies are there. Yeah. So the level 1 is more for you, and looking after you and your immediate friends and family. And the level 2 is to be able to offer the healing to a broader community as well as to yourself.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, absolutely awesome, Jackie. Thank you so much for coming on. We really, really appreciate your time. If they're looking for you, how can they get in touch? Where's your clinic, and how do they come and undertake this wonderful journey with you?
My business name is Holistic Healing Melbourne. I'm based in the beautiful leafy suburb of Eltham in Melbourne. And my website is holistichealingmelbourne.com.au. And I'd love to hear from people.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, if any clients out there that look like this could be a therapy that they want to go and experience, please get in contact with Jackie. And any therapists out there that want to learn how to actually bring this wonderful healing modality to the world, please get in contact with Jackie. We'd just like to thank you so much for being on Therapist Spotlight, Jackie. And for everybody out there, we'll catch you all later. Have a good day, have a good life, and see you later. Bye.
Thank you for listening to Therapist Spotlight. If you would like to know more about ANTA, visit us at www.anta.com.au.